Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. This episode is brought to you by my good friends over at SaneBox. Remote knowledge workers are absolutely inundated with distractions these days. Emails, voicemails, Slack messages, and a million other pings that keep you from traveling the world, getting that first remote job, or moving to a new country. These days, to get ahead, we have to be great at prioritizing what really matters. In my case, that meant cutting down on the world's #1 productivity killer, email clutter. So I turned to SaneBox. You can think of SaneBox's AI as your own personal email box assistant. It gets to know your preferences and tendencies, then automatically filters out the distractions and sorts your emails for you into folders and priorities that fit your workflow. I personally love Sane Black Hole, where you can drag messages from annoying senders you never want to hear from again. They also offer Sane reminders to ping you if someone hasn't replied to you yet, alongside other automated files for anything from your receipts to your news feeds, all in one place. SaneBox works within any email client you're currently using and can be set up in a matter of minutes. Even better, About Abroad listeners can access a 14-day free trial and $25 in credit when they sign up at sanebox.com/abroad. Check out the link in the show notes for more details. My guest today is Jordan Carroll. He is better known as the remote job coach, and he's a returning guest from a previous season. So one of the few that we've had back a couple times now, and is just always full of so much knowledge on both world travels and finding remote jobs. And that is what we talk a lot about today, because he's on a book tour promoting his new book, which is all about helping you find location independence through the remote world. So Jordan drops some knowledge for us, as he always does, and then we also get into some of the places that he's stopped along the way and what that's been like. So a lot of fun in this one. Great catching up with Jordan. He also shares with us that he's giving away 3 copies of his book to the About Abroad audience. So listen in and stay tuned if that sounds interesting to you. We did have a little bit of technical difficulties in this one with the audio and the mics, especially towards the end of the episode. So push through with us and stick around. I hope you'll enjoy this one. Please help me in welcoming Jordan to About Abroad. Jordan Carroll is back in the house. I am super excited to see you again, my friend. How are you?
Ooh, dude, the hair's flowing for both of us, bro.
You're trying to catch me.
I'm trying to. I don't think I'm going to, unless you cut it off, which you said you're going to do. So
yeah, I may do. I may go bunless.
It stands up like an Eiffel Tower, dude.
Wish people could see what I see. Oh man, it's great to have you back. I don't have a lot of repeat guests on the show, so thank you for joining me. I don't know if that's because people just don't want to return. Maybe it was a miserable experience. So maybe you're just brave.
I think you're the one in the driver's seat of that, dude. But I think that means I did good on the first one.
That was a roundabout way of giving you a compliment and also fishing for one myself, I guess. So anyway, thanks for coming back, man. It's really good to see you. I can't wait to hear about what's going on in your life, because it's been busy. You've been a busy man. Where are you right now?
Well, you and me both, dude. You and me both. I am currently in Barcelona.
Barcelona.
In España.
Qué bien, qué bien.
There's such a funny joke. This comedian I saw the other day, he was having a conversation with this girl, and he's like saying what she's saying to him. It's like, yeah, and she said to me, I'm going to Barcelona. It's in España. And I said, yeah, when people say that, it makes you sound stupid. And I was like he wasn't making fun of like locals. He was making fun of this girl who was like insisting that that's what it's called. And yeah, dude, it's been lovely here. I've been here for a few days. Got here from Croatia. So I spent like 3 or 4 weeks in Croatia in different places, and then I'm going to Bulgaria next week. So it's been a pretty jam-packed schedule, and I think really wanted to go to Montreal for the other event, but these other things kind of took precedence because they let me actually talk.
Serious FOMO, right? Like you're like, too many options. Which one do I choose from? Bulgaria, Croatia, Spain. Doesn't sound bad.
Blessed life. Yeah, I imagine Canada. I mean, I don't know. How was Montreal?
Oh man, it was awesome. I went to the Running Remote conference there and met with just a ton of people missed you. It would have been great to have met up with you. It's also super sad because we're very close. Like in the scope of the world right now, we're very, very close, but we're like just far enough apart. I'm here in France, you're in Spain, and it's like we're just far enough apart to where it doesn't make sense to try to arrange some sort of meetup. But yeah, Montreal was awesome, man. Super good experience. Met with a bunch of previous guests that have been on the show. Some people who are going to come on the show in the future. Got to hang out with my sponsors there at Insured Nomads. Big shout out to them for sponsoring both Running Remote and About Abroad, and just tons of knowledge dropped there, tons absorbed, great connections made. The biggest thing, I think, I'm sure you and I can agree on this because I gather from your social media and what you're doing right now, the community around this whole like remote work and digital nomad thing is like growing at this super rapid rate, but it still has this like weird, intimate like awesomeness to it where you meet people out there from other sides of the world that you're like, wait, we're already friends, one, and like I love what you're doing. You're willing to share, you're willing to help. I've never really been a part of a community as like open as that, and that was a really cool thing to experience in real life.
It is. I've found that there's like these little subsets of like this remote working broader community. One of them being like these nomadic community. One of them is like all these company leaders, like the ones that would go to running remote. And then there's like the remote year folks that I hang out with, and like the super big backpacker kind of people. Or there's like the location independent entrepreneurs at like Dynamite Circle. Like there's all these like little layers to this. And it's so cool because I find myself in and out of like different communities, like tasting a little bit of this one, tasting a little bit of that one, and being like, okay, I like that. Okay. And you get something out of each one, which I think is actually really important. So anybody listening, it's like, I guess the value you can extract from that is within this broader, community of remote work, find your people, right? And experiment. And it seems like you're kind of part of a lot of different things as am I, and I get different things out of all of them.
Yeah, I think we both kind of butterfly, flutter around in and out of them, out of all those. Like I'm not so nomadic. Like I'm living a little bit of a nomadic life here month to month for 6 months or so. But like I've been pretty stationary for 4 years, 5 years, just kind of like traveling a little bit at a time. But like the true nomads out there still let me hang out with them sometimes. I still like living vicariously through them. And yeah, then there's like the remote work world and all that. So it's just all fun for me. And I love seeing people like yourself that are building up their name, building up their brand, and establishing themselves in these different areas, but then also like learning from them. Like I'm like constantly absorbing all this knowledge. I'm like, this is incredible. People are so about building in public now, which is just incredible for me.
It is. I think everyone that I've talked to that goes through a nomadic stage of their life ends up getting to the point where you're at too. Like even the past like 2 years, I've spent most of that in one place, in Playa del Carmen. And now that I'm back on the road, I remember why I don't do this.
I was going to ask you, yeah. So what's the state of mind right now? Like, are you enjoying it? I mean, I'm sure you're having fun, but like, yeah, where's your head at?
Yeah, dude. If I'm being completely honest, like I feel like I'm on a cusp of a burnout, like for sure, because with this book, and we'll talk more about the book, writing that, promoting it, soliciting sponsorships, podcasts, trying to keep my business together while I'm doing that, running a small team, and then moving time zones. I think I've moved apartments 6 times in the past 2 months, which is like, should be illegal. It is. Yeah. It's just like picking up your shit, packing it, going to the next place, trying to establish routine, trying to figure out where the grocery store is, trying to figure out what this is. And you just fall into these, crappy habits. I actually have a really bad sugar withdrawal right now. I actually I've had headaches the past 3 days because I went on this bender like for almost a month where I just didn't give a shit what I was eating. I was whatever was around me. I was like almost seeking the comfort because I didn't have it. And I'm just like psychoanalyzing myself as we're talking.
Yeah, let's do it.
It was like so much travel that I couldn't establish. I didn't feel like I could establish a good routine. Then I had so much work that I was doing. I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to eat the pizza. I'm going to eat the donut. I'm going to eat the chocolate bars. And then after, a month of that, where I was like really treating my body shitty and not working out as much either, I just looked at myself, I was like, dude, letting go, and I feel like crap. And then a couple days ago, I got to Barcelona. There's a really awesome market like a few blocks away. I'm in a cool apartment, co-living space. So they've got a kitchen upstairs. And I was like, I'm going to cook. The past 3 days, I've been cooking and I've been eating fruits and vegetables, lean meats. But I've had the worst headache because my body's like, give me that sugar. Give me the sugar. You remember Men in Black? When the guy's like, give me the sugar. Like, that's what I feel like is happening to me right now. I'm being controlled by like a little fucking thing in there that's like, give me the sugar. And so I was talking to my buddy who, we're like, we have a very similar travel schedule right now. now. And I was like, dude, I feel depressed. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like all the book stuff. I don't know if it's like relationship things with family. I don't know if it's this. And then I was like, oh yeah, I haven't had any sugar.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal combination of things, and like I think this goes under the radar. It's like nobody really feels bad for you when you're like, yeah, I'm just like tired from traveling around so much and stuff. But like, but this is real. Like, I mean, I talk to so many people that they're like on the road, and you look at the gram, and they're like, their life's amazing, and then you talk to them, and they're like, I am tired. Like, I've been trying to make my living travel blogging for the last 12 years, and I make $1,800 a month, and I'm eating oodles of noodles every day, and I'm exhausted. And so it's like, I mean, take everything you see with a grain of salt, I guess. Like, there is the gram versus reality thing, and that part's real, man. I mean, maybe nobody's going to feel like super sorry for us, but like, it does get exhausting. I suck at getting over jet lag now too. Like, I flew, like just mentioned, flew to Montreal and came back, and like it took me 3 days. It was only 6 hours, but it took me 3 solid days to like get back on track. I don't know. You get older.
That's pretty good. I feel like 3 days is not bad.
That was with a lot of effort. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I have a little thing. It's like the competitive side of me wants to beat jet lag, so I do like all the things now. Like, I used to just wing it and be like, yeah, I'll hop on a plane. I don't care. I'm like picking the perfect time and like structuring my sleep. So okay, here's the deal. If I can land, I will pick a flight that it doesn't matter. People will say like, going east or going west, I feel it different. I think it matters when you land. So I try to, first of all, get direct flights or one connection, shortest travel time frame. I optimize for that big time. And then I try to get a flight. Like, the second criteria is get a flight that's landing like mid-afternoon, evening, like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock would be like perfect.
Yep.
And then hopefully I can stay awake until like 10, 11, fall asleep because I'm exhausted, and wake up the next morning more or less ready to go. It's not foolproof, but like, it works a lot better than landing at like 10 a.m. and having the whole day ahead of you, regardless of which direction you're heading. So that's my strategy.
Yeah, I like that. I think that gives enough room in the day for you to still get a good meal on, because I typically all want to, like right when I land, I want to eat and go to bed. So giving yourself enough time to go eat something, and then like you said, try to stay awake. See how that goes.
The other little factor that I take in is I used to think like, oh, I'm going to sleep on the plane. That sleep on the plane sucks. You don't actually sleep, and then you wake up just like kind of like confused and stuff. So I don't optimize for sleeping. That's the other big thing.
I optimize for work on the plane, actually.
Yeah, it's a great place to work.
I'll make a list on my iPhone notes, and it will say Wi-Fi, non-Wi-Fi. I have all the tasks that I can do non-Wi-Fi on that list, and I go right before I leave. I'll open up all the tabs. And so usually a bunch of them are like Google Docs too, and I'll make them all offline. Offline access to Google Docs. I'll pull up usually I do like content stuff too, because content's perfect, great on a plane. You're stuck up there and content you don't need.
Yep.
That's my win, dude. And I get super productive, but I always drink Coke. I don't know what it is. Like, I got rid of soda in my life for years, but for some reason when I started traveling again, especially more recently, I just like had this hangover of Coke on the flight.
No wonder you're craving sugar these days. All these flights with Cokes in between.
Deadly, dude. This stuff is deadly. It's more addictive than drugs. I mean, it is a drug.
It is. Yeah. That's so what do you do all this traveling for? I mean, I know it's for or I think I know. I'm not gonna presume anything. So give me the background.
You and your assumptions, Chase, always. So you're an amazing person for being part of this project too. I should add, being part of this book. So I've been writing a book for almost 1.5 years, and it seems crazy to say that, because the first outline of this book I created in 2008. Never been happier that I procrastinated, because if I would have written it back then, it would be outdated already. That would have been tragedy. So I'm writing a book called Remote for Life. It's a guide on how to find a remote job, fast forward to freedom. So it's really, really exciting, because I've gotten a lot of good people to contribute to it. I've poured my heart and soul into it. And I continue to work with this publisher who's just awesome in helping me get it done. But there's kind of like this home stretch period right now where I'm wanting to pre-sell. So what I did was, and I don't see a lot of people doing this with books, but I felt like it was a really good idea, was created a Kickstarter, and I combined it with a bunch of other things. So because I'm not done with the book fully, I'm in the second round of edits on a 70,000 word manuscript that we're trying to get down to 50. Yeah, we're trying to get down to 50. So it's just major deletion right now. And kind of, I'm still finding stuff I want to add to. And I'm just like, I want to add this. But we're making like a bunch of digital resources that will go with the book too. So that's the way to combat that. So I said to myself, do I want to have, like, traditionally what people will do is they'll have like an Amazon launch, and they'll maybe price the book at $1.99 or 99 cents the first week on Kindle, and they'll try to kind of game the system to get the Amazon bestseller. I for sure want the Amazon bestseller, but I don't want to sell my book for 99 like right out of the gate. I want to reward people for spending a little bit more money, and I want to reward myself for working so damn hard and recoup, some actual money from this investment, because this book has cost me over $50,000 creating.
Wow.
Most people,
how do you calculate that?
Well, the publisher that I'm working with is Scribe Media. They're a publisher that they help you self-publish. So it's not as if it's a publisher that I've partnered with and they get all the royalties. I actually get 100% of the royalties of the book, but they provide the entire team, the entire structure, and it's a really awesome, David Goggins' book. They did. So like they're great. Like they're really, really on top of it. And I knew that if I was ever going to actually write a book, I would.
Can I just say on the David Goggins point real quick, if you're feeling down, you're a little exhausted, go listen to that on Audible, and man, you'll go like you're gonna go climb a mountain or something really quick. If you're having one of those Coke withdrawals, that's your upper right there. So sorry, digression.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think overall, some people will say that's crazy to spend that much money on creating a book. I think it's crazy to just kind of like write something and not care what you put out there. So because of the names that I have involved in this, you, Darren, my friend Madeline, man, like heavy hitters, Tara Vastani, Tarek Kalusi, like people that I really respect, and Solo Hall, people that I really respect and like want to put in a good light. I want this to be the best book ever. So I put into it everything, and it's going to be awesome first and foremost. But I also knew that if I contributed that amount of money to it, I would be incentivized, like very incentivized to make it the best that it ever could be. And having that support from Scribe is fantastic, because they take care of a lot of the stuff too. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't ever do it. I would never get around to it,
Is it kind of like paying for like a personal trainer or something? Like, yeah, you could do push-ups in your living room, but like you're not going to do it at the same intensity as if you got somebody like kind of pushing you to do it, giving you the formula to success.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, ask yourself what the ROI is. For me, I'm going to make back that 40,000-50,000
for sure. Yeah.
Easily. The way that I think and the way that I hope, I really love when people think big. I like to think $40,000-50,000 for this. That's a deal. Like,
yeah, it is.
That's the way that I think about it. So you'll find, like, I've started to surround myself more and more with people that are like 100,000, 200,000, $1 million, like, because I want to be at that level too. I want to be at the level where that kind of stuff, like from a monetary perspective, I can have the freedom to spend money, have the freedom to invest in things, have the freedom to like use time, help people. And so in order to get to that place, you have to start thinking in that mindset prior to that, to you actually being. So that's the way that I'm looking at everything, is like, what would Jordan 2.0 do? Like, what would he decide is a worthy investment? And that's like how I think about everything.
I love the point about surrounding yourself with people like that is so vital, and I think it's often overlooked. I love the quote or the mindset that like you are the sum average of the 5 people closest to you, and that can be, if you really take that to heart and start surrounding yourself with people who are thinking that way, talking that way, building things in that vein, then you naturally start gravitating towards it as well. And something like this, like a book that you're writing, I mean, you're already, you've been very complimentary towards me, but like you're very well known in this space. You are like the remote job coach. People come to you first when they're looking for a remote job. So you've already built up this brand. And I think writing a book was the next natural step for you, is putting all of that, like you called it a manuscript earlier. And I love that word, because it is like putting everything down, like all this knowledge that's up there that you've gotten from working with a bunch of remote companies where you were working, and then now working with people getting jobs at such companies. Like you've retained a lot that you can't just get out there in little quick bites on videos and tweets and LinkedIn posts. Like it's got to be written in a long form format. So I think is the natural next step for you. I'm stoked to see the final product. I've seen little tidbits, and I know people have something really good coming their way.
They do. I think it's gonna knock their socks off. At least I hope so.
What can you give us a little like teaser? Like, I mean, like what's the premise of the book if you were going to sum it up in a few sentences?
Yeah. So, and actually I would refer people to the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter has like a really epic video on it also that explains this and has, a bunch of headlines and stuff. I would just say like it's your guide to finding flexible work and fast forwarding to freedom. So I don't care where you're at on the spectrum. If you already have a remote job, if you've never worked remotely before, finding like an actual remote first company to work for in a role that you actually love and gives you the ability to live the lifestyle you want to live.
I think that's why I resonate so much with it, because that's where I was like I've always worked remotely, but for the first half of my career, I was still geographically limited. Like I had to be in the US, and I even had to be in like a specific part of the US. I could float around within that, and I did some nomading within the US under those circumstances, but like I was limited in that. And if you have that nomad inside you, if you have that explorer side inside you, like eventually it's going to come up and bite and be like, we got to move on, man. There's another level that you really want to get to, which is, ultimately location independence. And I wish there had been a blueprint for me, because there was, and I made a whole bunch of mistakes. I made a lot of you talk about 40, 50 grand. Like I made those kind of mistakes, just trying different things and wasting time, not doing the right things. And, having that personal trainer for me is vital. I talk about it all the time on the show, like outsourcing your weaknesses is something I'm a big believer in, that kind of like 4-hour work week mindset. And this is another form of that. It's like, listen to a pro, read the book, it'll tell you what to do. And then you can go off and do it.
And that was the big impetus for this too, was there's a lot of people who want help from me, but they can't afford coaching, for instance. They can't pay thousands of dollars to get the coaching, or they don't want to pay a few $100s for the course. But, maybe they'll read a book and give them the opportunity to meet me where they're at and get all the information in a very tangible format. And plus, dude, like I've been a writer for a long time. I love writing so much. It's just the thing that, and I almost like didn't even realize it, but it was just the thing that I would always default to. I'm like, I love to write, and I love to do videos too. Writing and videos are like the two things that I love to do as far as content. And it's just when I get engrossed in writing even just a post for LinkedIn, it's so much fun to kind of tweak the sentences. I'm sure you do that too, because I think your LinkedIn posts are amazing, man. You always have some fire that you're dropping for people out there.
Do you want to know a secret on that though? And I'm telling you this because I'm just curious to hear your perspective, because you say you love writing. So I didn't know that I loved writing, and I do. It's something that I really enjoy, and I don't think I'm actually very good at. But if I work hard enough at it, then the outcome is pretty good. Like, I mean, it's I'm not playing the humble card here and saying that it's just okay or whatever. Like, I can produce some good written content, but in Spanish you would say like me cuesta, like it costs me. It takes a lot of my energy, mental energy, to produce anything. It doesn't just flow from the fingertips, like the podcast, for instance, flows a lot easier for me. It's just natural. But like writing it costs me some energy and time and stuff. So I really enjoy doing it, but it's not something I feel I'm naturally good at, and I've had to like work at. Do you feel like this is something that just kind of flows from the fingertips, or have you had to kind of craft your or perfect your craft, I guess is the better way to say it?
Probably some of both. I mean, dude, I resonate completely, because me writing something, it takes a ton of energy out of me. It's not like it's something that energizes. I can get in a flow state and it feels really good, but usually after I've like edited 5, 10, 15 pages, I'm just like done the day. So I can resonate with that. But over time, I mean, it's one of those things that is a practice. So it can become easier. And especially for posting on social media, you can use templates. You can use things that you can repurpose. I try to repurpose a lot, but I wouldn't say that I've got the best system for that still. But I'm always trying to improve and just figure out like, where have I said something and written something that I can use as like a puzzle piece. Like this book has largely become parts of my course, parts of my content that I posted, like all these different places where I've posted these ideas, I've brought them in and then reorganized them and rewritten so that it makes sense in a very chronological order. So I always think of it like, how can I keep all the content that I write, the writing, like super accessible, so that in future times when I don't have that inspiration, I can call upon those things, bring them forward again, or repurpose them in some way that makes it a little bit easier.
Super interesting. You mentioned earlier that like you're glad you didn't write it in 2018 because you were would have been outdated by now. And so obviously we've had COVID since then, and that's changed the game in terms of what remote work work is, and the opportunity to become a digital nomad and have location independence. That opportunity is much more there today than it was in 2018. So it goes without saying, obviously a lot has changed, but what really stands out to you as someone who's been in this game for a while? Like, what's really changed since 2018? Or maybe if you want to cut the time frame down, like since the last time we spoke here on the podcast, this is moving quickly. So like, what would you say to the listeners out there, to the people who are getting your book? Like, what do you feel like is has been that latest wave in the remote work digital nomad space?
Well, I'll start off with the first part, which is what's changed since 2018. And I think one of the coolest things is that my expectation of the default on job listings is remote. Like, I get surprised when I see on-site roles now. It used to be when I was helping my clients in 2018 that we'd have to go through, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, to get 2 remote jobs, we'd have to go through 8 on-site jobs back in 2018. It's opposite now. You go through 8 remote jobs, fine. You go through 8 remote jobs and then find 2 on-site ones. So I think that's really interesting, just like the default nature of job listings. It's such a small little thing, but it's really like what people expect.
Dude, when I was searching for my job at Doist, I remember I wasn't searching for this job, but I found it. And during that search, this was 2016. So this was brutal. Like so hard. I mean, you're paying for access to like flex jobs was like your only option really. And the options weren't that good. Like they were mainly like, telemarketer jobs or something. And most of them weren't actually like fully remote.
100% commission.
Yeah. 100% commission. Like
Dude, that was my first job. That was my first remote job.
Was it really?
2013. I had a telemarketing job, 100% commission.
Nice. You cut your teeth, man. You were in the salt mines.
Salt fucking mines, dude. Selling.
Look where you are now, writing books.
It was like PR. It was PR spots to a website for musical artists. We'd get like a round robin. It would just like, you click this button and it would be like, now we're calling this person. And it would just start calling and you're just like, oh, you have a script and you're supposed to like get this person on a $2.99 subscription for this artist PR site. And then after 30 days, it charges them like $39 or something. And so, yeah, it's super scammy. But I did it.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. The hustle is real.
I'm doing it in between classes, school. I had 3 jobs at the time and I'm trying to figure stuff out. And I didn't realize, I didn't even really know. I didn't know I was working remotely. I was just trying to make these calls. And I didn't realize that, this is probably kind of scammy because I don't know. Funny, looking back.
How far you've come, man. Now you are in Barcelona, just chilling by the playa.
I'm actually in the mountains, dude.
Are you?
Yeah, I want to show you this, but I'll show you after call. But I'm in, what is it called? There's like a co-living space up here. I don't know. I mean, you're obviously very familiar with Barcelona.
You're inland. So, I mean, this is something I think people think of Barcelona as being like right on the beach. You think of the beach, but I mean, the mountains run right through this area. And
can you see that?
What is it? The Parc de Attractions? Oh, Tibidabo. Yeah, you're right by Tibidabo, like this big church sitting up on the mountain overlooking the city.
Yeah, and it's the radio tower. Is that there's like a radio tower over here?
I didn't know there was a co-living there. That's cool.
It just started like 3 weeks ago.
One more reason to visit Barcelona. We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This season is brought to you by my good friends over at Insured Nomads. They're the absolute best in the business when it comes to providing health, travel, and medical insurance for nomads, expats, and really just all forms of world travelers. I know insurance is often something that's overlooked when we're fantasizing about traveling the world, but it's absolutely necessity that we address this because often the policy you have in your home country isn't going to cover you while you're abroad. And it's also a requirement, as a lot of people may not realize, to actually buy private travel or expat insurance, as it's called sometimes, to obtain a visa or even enter certain countries. So fortunately, there are companies like Insured Nomads to help us with this. Not only do they have excellent coverage and great prices, but they're also providing a first-class experience with additional perks and best-in-class technology via their app. It's an amazing experience. I can't recommend it enough. Now, this is a company that was built by world travelers for world travelers. So they know what it's like to find yourself in a difficult medical situation abroad, and they want to keep you from having that same bad experience. So the next time you're planning a trip abroad, whether it's for a week or a lifetime, check out Insured Nomads via the link in the show notes. If you've made it this far into the episode and you're still enjoying yourself, then I would love to ask a quick favor. Open up the app that you're using to listen to this podcast and leave a quick review. You can do this in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and really just about any platform that allows podcast listening now. If you can't find that in the interface of the app, then scroll down in the show notes and find ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, and you should be able to leave it from there. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. People don't think about when you're in Barcelona, it's such a sweet location because you're basic. I mean, it would be wrong to say you're a couple hours from the Pyrenees because you're basically in the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees run right through there and run into the Mediterranean. But I mean, you really are like just a couple hours from some of the best skiing and stuff in Europe and Andorra and the French and Spanish Pyrenees. Plus you got the beach right there, of course. I mean, it's a sweet spot.
Expensive.
Very, yeah. Especially by Spanish standards.
I didn't realize before, like I have a buddy who, we came here and we're looking at places. We came from Croatia, and then before that I was in Mexico, and I was like, wait, what is this for a month? All right, you want to pay this? So he's here for a month. I'm here for like 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, and then I'm taking off to Bulgaria.
So, okay, yeah, I want to hear more about your trip, actually. So
yeah, we got off topic.
Yeah, well, actually, hold on, but we're going to get there for sure. I had one more question for you on the kind of like book remote work stuff. So we're talking about this like, what's changed since 2018 and even since 2021 when we talked last year. I'm really curious, what are you telling clients? Like you're still running your business. We're talking a lot about your book, and we're going to be talking a lot about your travels. What you do day to day is you're a remote job coach, and you're really, really good at that. So you have clients, just for some context for people that may not know, like you have clients that you're helping coach through this process of getting a remote job. And so you're advising people on the landscape of what people want. And in the last episode, which we'll link to in the show notes, you gave a ton of like very tangible advice. So we don't have to regurgitate all that. But what are you telling today's client about how to get a remote job? Like, is there a bullet point or two you could share that would be useful for people listening?
Yeah. And actually, funny enough, I'm trying to rotate my business, doing kind of a pivot, and I'm working now more with companies too. So that's been really fun, is like helping them hire and like being in the trenches.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In that way. So,
I want to know more.
Yeah, it's been fun. So starting with, let me just give you one thing that I think is super impactful. Did we talk about the 5x5x5 last time?
Remind me if we did.
So one of the best ways that you can supercharge your remote job search and find clients and maybe find a significant other and find anything in your life, whatever, is by networking. We can agree that that's important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Although I bet there are some people who argue that they think it's like networking is like an old school thing, and I totally disagree. Obviously, you can do it digitally now, but like, I mean, networking, who you know is still as much or more important than what you know.
I'm seeing more and more that, okay, so there's this paradox, because there's more remote jobs than ever, but there's also more people who want remote jobs. So all of these jobs are getting, like, especially the top remote companies, remote first organizations, are getting just hundreds and hundreds of applications. But a lot of the applications that they're getting are really bad. They're not, people are not, and yeah, you can probably agree. I know that you can see them too. So people are not really looking at, the job description. They're not really customizing their application. They're not really taking the time to get to know anybody. And if you just deviate a couple percentage points from the norm and do something just a little bit different, you can stand out so much. And I find that building the relationships are a big part of that. So when I talk about 5x5x5, which we can link, I just have a video that explains, we can link it. Basically what you're doing, first 5 is connection. So make 5 targeted connect. So you're finding people that either do what you want to do, you're finding people at the companies that you want to be at, or you're finding some sort of indirect work you add on LinkedIn, and you're doing it through forms of relevance. You're in the same group, you like their content, you have a mutual friend, whatever. And you're pushing those, you're creating those contacts, because eventually those can become referrals, or they can become informational interviews, or they can be someone that you could provide value to. You don't really know, but making those connections every single day. So you do this every day, 5x5x5. That's the first 5. Second 5 is leave 5 targeted, thoughtful comments. So you're actually out there seeking content that is aligned to what it is that you want to do, or you're finding people at the companies that you want to work at who are posting content and active on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to work at Doist, I would like and comment on Chase's stuff, right? Like I would do that actively for the course of a few weeks, and then I would send an connection request, right? Because now I've actually warmed this up. I've provided value, because whenever Chase posts, he wants people to comment. So just find the people that are already active on LinkedIn LinkedIn that work at the company that you want to work at and start building the relationships that way, because they're giving you a free pass to give them value. The way that you do that is you just go into the search bar in LinkedIn, you go to posts, go to all filters, go to current companies, and you just list all the companies, all your target companies, and then press most recent.
Dude, they make it so easy now. I mean, like I didn't know all that. I didn't know you could do that, but that's so simple. And such a straightforward way to make a connection.
And just do 5 of those. Literally go through the content, and I would put most recent last week. And you could put 5, 10, 15 companies in there, and you could just go down. Okay, I see a relevant post here. I'm going to comment on this. Then I'm going to drag that person's profile to the top, and I'm going to add them later. I'm going to go down, do another comment. And my recommendation is always keep the tasks like one at a time. So you're not like going in between and sending the messages and connecting. It's like do the 5, and then do the 5, and then do the 5. So we've got 5 connections, 5 comments. And sometimes you can do the comments and then add the person after. That's a really good way to get both of them at the same time. What do you think the last one is?
What is the last one?
5 by 5 by 5 LinkedIn strategy. We've got 5 connections a day. We've got 5 comments a day. We've got 5 blank a day.
Is the 5th one a DM?
No, because when you're connecting, you're actually always sending a DM. You're always you're adding a note, right? Because there's some form of relevance. Always some form of relevance. Less than 1%. It's a good guess. I don't think you're gonna get it, dude.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. I'm terrible at the social media game. So I'd be a better client than a teacher for sure. Don't invite me to be like a guest speaker for your students,
dude. You know. I think that's a funny joke, because we would absolutely invite you because you have all the knowledge in the world about asynchronous work.
I just need to learn how to get it out to people, I guess. All right. So what's the secret?
5 unfollows.
Oh, I would never have thought that. You got to clean up the list.
So here's the thing, is that when you log into LinkedIn, what you should see is a feed that absolutely 100% supports your job search. So if it's not doing that at this moment, I recommend going through and unfollowing people. The reason you unfollow is because you're still connected to them, but you won't see their content anymore. You still have that, you retain that connection, but you don't see their content. You go in and just search for people that are posting something irrelevant. I'll find stuff on my feed that's like totally in French, for instance. And like, just, it's like, I don't speak French. So like this whole post in French and this picture that doesn't resonate at all. It's like, okay, I'm going to unfollow that. There's no relevance. So the ideal is I log on to LinkedIn. My entire feed is all people that work at the companies I want to work at, the companies actually posting that I want to work at, and then potential mentors, connections, and people that are relevant to my industry. That's what your feed should look like. So the more you pare that down, the better, because over time, over years of feeding the algorithm, we've fed it garbage. We fed it the sugar, right? And then all of a sudden it gets a little bit too fat.
The feed still wants the sugar. It wants the garbage.
we gotta trim the fat. But ironic, LinkedIn is probably the best at all of these as far as like the feed. Twitter, absolute dumpster fire. I don't even go on there. So you can clean that up if you want to, but I feel like that takes a little bit. It's a bigger shovel.
Well, one thing I'll add to all that, and it may just be super obvious, I'm sure. I mean, for you it will be, but like one thing I definitely suggest not doing is quickly following up with a note saying, "Hey, I love your work. I would love to work at your company. How do you have any recommendations for me or something like that?" The reason, not that you can't ever get to that point, but what drives me crazy is when people immediately jump to that. And my first thought is like, you're showing me that you're not proactive enough to even go to our website and look to see if we have a job available. Like if you're going to do that, at least be like, "Hey, I'm really interested in this job because I have these qualifications." And you mentioned like doing these like little 1%, 2% fluctuations, like these little things can make the difference. That's one of those things. Like just take the extra 45 seconds to look at my website and say, "Okay, there's a job there that resonates with me." Don't say, "Hey, do you have a job for me?" Because, well, you just told me, "No, I definitely don't have a job for you."
And there's just like an assumption there that it's like you owe this person something that's just feels really, it just tastes bad. Just imagine this, Chase. What if someone had commented on your post for like 2 or 3 weeks? You could notice, oh, these comments are actually really thoughtful. And I have like a little comment formula. Comment formula is: first is a compliment, second is a perspective, third is an open-ended question. So you compliment the person for the post and say, "Hey, this is great because of this." You provide perspective and how it relates to you and give them like an additional thought they didn't even think of. Ask an open-ended question to keep the conversation. That is a great comment, right? If have all those 3 things in there. And just imagine that Chase now goes back in and answers that question and you have a quick dialogue in the comments. Now imagine that happens 2 or 3 times over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Now the message that comes to you is an add note and it says, "Chase, I've been following your content for a while. All these things that you're posting are really awesome, especially this, and this. I hope you're having a great week." Awesome. Chase accepts it because he knows this person. Now that person goes in and looks at Duis and sees that you're hiring for something. Maybe even you post about hiring, whatever. And let's say that person does a Loom video where they talk about their qualification and they talk about exactly why this role would be awesome for them. And they even do like a 30, 60, 90 page of like, here's exactly what I would do in the role. And then they actually email that to you. And then they send you a message on LinkedIn and say, hey, Chase, I know I've only known you for a short time and this is out of the blue, but I saw that you're hiring for this. And I sent you an email exactly why I'd be a great fit. No pressure if, it's not something that you help with, but I thought I'd run this by you before I applied. What if someone did that to you?
God, I mean, if it would blow my mind, to be honest, like compared to all the garbage, it just would blow my mind and that person would get hired. Like I don't know. That's the kind of thing that you just think like once someone's taken that much effort and created the relationship, they've put the effort in ahead of time to open that door. You can't shut that door. I got to open it and I got to see what else is in there. Even if we don't have a job for that person, you got to create one. I mean, that's quite a formula, man.
And that's just an example. I mean, that's one route that multiple people that I've worked with have gotten a job because they've done something like that. And the key part there is, like you said, it's those 1% to 2% interactions where it's like, I'm moving the needle forward with a small thing that now we share as context to who you are and who I am. That gives you that subconscious familiarity and even the conscious familiarity that, hey, this person might actually be a good fit. And then if you think at some point, oh, I've got this job open and that person comes to mind because they've had that interaction with you, even better, right? Because then all of a sudden you're sending them a note. So I find that over time, by doing it this way, rather than just going and applying on job boards, it's just there's a higher probability of success, and you're also building relationships.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. I'm not going to ask you to give away any more free information, people. If you want to know more, buy the freaking book. Let's mention this right now because I want to make sure. I know we'll mention it again at the end, and there will be links in the show notes and stuff. But Jordan and I have decided to do a giveaway of 3 of his books for free. So I'll let you tell the details. But for About Abroad listeners, you have the opportunity to get a free book. So listen up, and then we're going to dive into I want to hear about some of the travel escapades here of the book tour.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm super thrilled and happy. I mean, Chase supported the book, which I'm super appreciative of, and to honor him and honor his contribution, as well as him being part of the book as an endorser, and Duis is going to have their name all over this book. So super excited about that. We want to give out a few books, and I think the idea that we've settled on is that the person's going to have to just share the podcast that we're on today on social media and tag us both, and that'll get you an entry. I'm assuming if we have any additional things outside of that, we'll just put it in the show notes and just try to make it super clear on how you can actually get an entry, and so that people are confirmed in that way. And then, at some point we'll have to choose a date in which we choose the random people that'll win. But we'll make it a little thing. Yeah, it'll be fun, and I love giving away information that's going to change your life. I just want people who actually will take the information to do it, right? Like if you know somebody who you think would really, you obviously give it away as a gift.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're setting the date 1 month out from the release of this episode. So within a month of the episode releasing, share it on one of your social media channels, and ideally, I think that would be Instagram or LinkedIn, but it could be somewhere else if you find both of us. But let's start with Instagram and LinkedIn. Tag us both, share it, and in that episode, you'll see in the show notes, there's going to be a link to Jordan's Kickstarter. There's going to be information, all of our social handles, all of that. So should be easy for you to do. You can press, if you're listening on an app right now, you can just go ahead and share with the little share button thingy there, and looks like a box with an arrow, and get started. So anyway, more information in the show notes. I want to come back to this. So the whole reason we actually got talking earlier was because you're on this sweet book tour, and I'm like, dude, why are you traveling all around the world right now? And you're like, oh, I'm out promoting the book, I'm going to this place and this place. I'm like, wait a second, I gotta hear more. So I know you're in Barcelona right now.
Yeah.
And where else have you been again?
So I started in Playa in April, Playa del Carmen in Mexico. I did the Dynamite Circle event, a lot of networking, did a video there, and just got to know a lot of people from this really great community that I had actually never been to one of their live events. I also had a few other things I really wanted to accomplish in Playa del Carmen, which I did. So that was ayahuasca with my dad, which was an insane experience.
Wow. You got dad? Was that dad's first time? I know it wasn't yours.
Yeah, dude, he's never been to Mexico. He's been out of the country once to Germany in his entire life, out of 70 years. So this was an insane experience to have him actually visit me and get to experience what my life is like in Mexico, and then also do this plant medicine I've been raving about for years.
How was his experience? I kind of feel weird asking. I hate asking how was the experience? It's too I think I saw like when someone says that, like, how was your meditation? It's like, it just was, it's like, I don't want to like put you on the spot with having to describe it or anything, but generally speaking, like, and I've listened to your episode, you have a podcast as well. I've listened to your episode about your first ayahuasca experience and found it really enlightening. So just curious how it went with Dad.
You can always ask me any question. I'm not going to shame you for it. Just so you know, I was going into it thinking, oh man, like my dad's got all these things that he needs to work on, that go in there and be able to go in there and pick whatever. We go into this experience and I just get tossed like a salad. Like it hit me so hard. And part of that might have been having him there. I don't know. But I actually had to work through shit, like much more stuff for me. He was like almost unaffected. Like he literally, we drank the same amount and he's just chilling there. He's just got like his hand on my back. He's like, you're going to be all right. And I required attention from like 3 of the guides for like 3 hours. I basically down this wormhole, just totally disassociated, ego death to the maximum, way out in, the other dimensions. And he's just chilling. And he's like, yeah, I had some hallucinations a little bit, but it's good. I was like, all right.
Is your dad somewhat like, did it surprise you that he would agree to do something like this, or is he kind of exploratory in that way? Okay.
The tough part is like, yeah, he's exploratory, but get your dad who's 70 to come down to Mexico and do ayahuasca in like a jungle. Like that was not. He thought I was joking when I first asked him to do it.
How did you ask him? Ask me like you asked him. I gotta know.
Okay, so I've brought up ayahuasca many times in my family's. They're pretty open. They understand. It like really helps me. And then over dinner, I was like, yeah. So I'm going to Mexico next month. I'm going to do ayahuasca. I feel like you should do it. If you want to go, I'll make it the most comfortable, uncomfortable experience you've ever had of your life. And I was like, I'll help you book a resort. I'll make sure that you're picked up from the airport. I'll make sure that you have everything that you need. You don't have to take care of anything logistic wise.
And he's like, okay.
Well, no, he's just like, I don't even know if he responded to that. He just like acknowledged me, but he didn't say anything really. And then a week later, I was like, hey, so I decided I'm going to do ayahuasca on this date because they gave us the dates. So if you want to come, I remember what he said. He's like, yeah, probably not this time, but maybe next time. I was like, just so you know, there is no next. Like, I was like, this is the one chance, because here's the deal. His age, combined with my moving around, combined with timing, combined with every other thing that could go wrong or not present this opportunity. I was like, dude, you want to do it? It's now or never. Like, don't give me the excuse that you'll do it later. You either just say no or you say yes. He was like, okay, I kind of thought you were joking around the first time. And I was like, no, I wasn't joking. And he's like, all right, I think I'm going to do it.
Wow.
And then we had to go through the process of talking to doctors and making sure that he was safe enough with his, he's pre-diabetic, has had blood pressure issues in the past. So we had to like monitor that every single day, send it to the shaman, to be super connected with all that.
Is there a place you recommend in Mexico or anywhere in particular?
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Puerto Morelos on the Yucatan Peninsula side. There's a place called Madre Verde. And it's incredible. I've taken probably 20 people there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Know, man.
Pretty cheap too. It's like $100 for,
what?
Yeah.
It's
like $100 for one night ceremony. You get there on like Friday at like 6 p.m. You're drinking it by 9 p.m. But very beautiful community. And yeah, the price wise, I've never found a price like that.
It's also something that if you're listening, you want to hear more on this, go check out Jordan's podcast, Sundays Ain't Scary. We'll link to that as well in the show notes, but he's got a specific episode on this. It's really good. You go deep on the experience, which I think a lot of people are kind of like, I don't know what the right word is, scared or ashamed or like are afraid of what people will think. And you're so the opposite. You're so open about it. Yeah. And I think that's a special thing, because I know a lot of people personally that have been down this path as well and have very positive things to say, but you have a platform to share publicly, which is pretty cool.
It's changed my life so much for the better, that the more that I can share. Obviously, people need to do their own research. They need to like check their own health status. They need to do what they need to do. But for most people that I feel like want to have some type of introspective experience, want to try to find another way to handle their trauma and process their emotions, it's not a better way. But so I was there for that. I know we keep getting off track a little bit. And then I wanted to do comedy again. So I got up on stage and did stand up again, which I hadn't done since like 2017.
Why? Did you? Oh,
so bad. Like my material was fantastic, but it was just not a great comedy venue. It was kind of outdoors. Tables were really spread apart. Half the people didn't know they were there for a comedy show. They were just there for dinner. And yeah, just
Oh, that's brutal, man. That's a bad set of circumstances.
but it felt great. Like I've actually like those moments feel like if you're super confident and comfortable and you still like, even if people aren't laughing, you still commit to the jokes. It actually feels really good. And you're like, yeah, you guys suck. Like I know this is good. So yeah, I hadn't done it since then because when I really first did it in 2017, I did it for like 6 months and I did a show and it was like 250 people.
Wow.
And yeah, it was a big crowd.
Was that on the boat? Was there something did you
No,
no.
I actually I did it on a boat too. I did. Yeah. So I guess I did it in 2019 as well, but it wasn't like, it was just kind of like I did it, but I did it more seriously the last time in 2017.
Like prepping and like writing out your material and like,
yeah, like the one I did one on the Nomad cruise. Because I was like, I was emceeing for the day.
That's what I was referring to. Yeah. I remember something about that.
So I just did a couple minutes of like kind of bullshit, but it wasn't as serious as like I took it back in 2017. And I was in a very different place in life. So confidence wise, experience wise. So like when I got on the stage now in 2022, I felt so much more confident. I felt like my experience over the past 5-7 years, however many years it is, it's like, I'm a totally different person. So I was way more, I enjoyed the process much more. Whereas I think in 2017, I was so anxious and it like created such a dissonant experience for me leading up to it. When I was on stage, it actually went great and I have it on video and it's like, you can tell like I murdered it. But then this time around, I didn't murder it, but I felt much better about it. Like leading up to it, like didn't have the anxiety and like was just like, whatever.
How about afterwards? Did you have a dip in confidence or anything? Or is it you're like, no, I'm good?
Because I know how good the stuff was. Like my material was much better. My delivery was much better. Like every part of the comedy was better except for the audience.
Yeah. That's a big deal. I mean, that's the ambiance, but if you can power through that, then it's pretty impressive, I think.
100%. So that was one thing I wanted to get done in April. And then I also got my renewal of my residency in Mexico, which was a big deal.
You still live it? You still call them Playa home? Like, is that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, doing a lot of travel right now, but I aim to be back there at some point that year.
Can I tell you something funny? This is like, I've been living in Spain. You've been living in Mexico, obviously 2 Spanish-speaking countries. And for you, it's really funny coming to Spain and like Barcelona, like the list thing, like because you've been learning Latin American Spanish, you've been learning Mexican Spanish. So and when I hear Mexican Spanish, it sounds very different to me. But I'm kind of like, because I grew up in the U.S., I'm naturally sort of attracted to that type of like it's difficult for me to do the lisp thing as well, even though like I've learned Spanish that way. Yeah, I still have to do it on purpose. But it's one of the things that's really funny for me to hear is people that have been living in Mexico call Playa del Carmen just Playa, because it'd be like, if we're like, oh yeah, I'm from beach, but everybody says that and it's always I'm from Playa. Yeah, it just always it always cracks me up. It's like one of those little things where it's like you wouldn't notice that, but for some reason, because people don't say that in Spain,
right?
So anyway,
well, yeah, it wouldn't make any sense for sure.
But it's just a funny little thing, I guess, in my head at least. I'm kind of a dork though.
You are a dork, dude. Total nerd.
Total nerd. Total nerd. So anyway, okay. So after ayahuasca and stand-up comedy in Mexico, get your residency card. You had an eventful month, and you're writing a book and running a business. Jesus, man. Sit down.
I was meeting up with my friends. Like I was just having like a blast. We were going to the spa. We had like spa Tuesdays, and just like, dude, I was really living. Like I felt like I was living my best life there, and I was doing some nomad-based stuff. Yeah, it was good. And then
nomad-based stuff. What do you?
Nomad-based is Nomad Cruise. So Nomad. Okay, so yeah, let's move on to this. So in beginning of May, I went to Croatia, and at the beginning of that was the Nomad Base Croatia event. Nomad Base is the land version of Nomad Cruise, so it's the same community. Once the cruises stopped because of COVID, they basically brought on this new community. They're like calling it Nomad Base. So I went to that and I spoke at that. And that was a really awesome experience. And that was part of, the promotion of my book. And there's about 400 people at that conference, really fun conference. It was going on at the same time as Running Remote. And because Nomad Base has me speak, like my audience really isn't the people at Running Remote. So then in early May, I went over to a Nomad Base Croatia event. So Nomad Base is like the offshoot of Nomad Cruise. So they created like a land version of their community once cruises were no longer a thing. So that was super fun because I got to speak. It was at the same time as Running Remote, so that was one of the big reasons why I couldn't be at that conference.
That's more your people, man. I mean, that's more your audience for sure.
It's more of my audience for my book, especially, and just the connection there was saying we did a lot of like weird stuff where I feel like running remote is a little bit more professional. Although I'm sure you guys did a lot of weird stuff.
There were weird things. We can't talk about it on the air, but there were weird things.
Never on air. It always stays at the conference. So that was cool. And then right after that, I went to a retreat called the Borderless Retreat, where I was a guest expert and got to lead a bunch of sessions and stuff. And
this is also in Croatia?
Also in Croatia, about an hour away. So they did that on purpose. It was actually a few people that were joining the Nomad Base event that run these retreats. And they're awesome. And they're more about kind of mindfulness, entrepreneurship, and collaboration. And it's about 14 people. So we went from this 400-person conference to this 14-person retreat, and I was able to like be there for a week in a villa in the rural parts of Croatia and do yoga in the mornings and eat a bunch of good food and all that stuff. Went from there to Barcelona, where I am now, and then from here next week I go to, or is it next week or 2 weeks from now? I go to Bulgaria for the Banksko conference. Banksko.
Had you been to Croatia before?
I've been to Split one other time, but I actually spent most of the time in Premošten and then in Zabarje, or like two places I hadn't been.
Oh, what's the vibe of those places like?
Premošten is like this little island community, pretty awesome, like scenery. I mean, dude, islands in Croatia are thing already, so it's a lot of fun. Except for the rock beaches, like Croatia is just like all rock. So you're trying to like lay down on the beach. It's just not fun.
This is something that's hard for those of us that have spent like time in the Caribbean. Like when beach for you was Caribbean, and then you go to like Mediterranean beaches. Sometimes you're like, why do I need shoes on the beach? Like like I'm afraid I'm going to cut myself on a jagged rock over here. Yeah, it's not
really meant to like lay out unless you have like an actual, I don't know, like bed or something. So it was still really fun though, man. Like I'm the luckiest guy in the world to be doing this stuff and just be promoting the book and be meeting so many good people. Like I said though, I'm exhausted. I'm actually looking forward to being back in the US for a bit to like reset my bearings. So after this, I go to Banksko, and then after that I go back to California. I've got a memorial and then my sister's graduation, and potentially back to Mexico, and then maybe even be
the future will tell. Have you been to Banksko before? I mean,
I haven't. No, super.
It's like up and coming, man. They got Banksko on the map.
And I heard it's Banksko. So I know we're like correcting each other with Barcelona and Banksko.
I told you I'm a terrible nomad, so I need that correction.
Dude, you should come out.
I would love to. I'm on my own journey right now. I'm doing about 6 months kind of planned out.
Let's hear it.
But nothing's off the, there's always time. So I'm basically doing month to month in some Airbnbs, traveling around Europe. So basically the idea is like we came to Europe on a 1-year visa almost 5 years ago and planned to spend 3 months in Valencia. Ended up just saying, we like it here. Let's just stay here, use this as our home base and travel around from there. And then of course, COVID hit. And so like we've traveled a lot less over the last 5 years than we planned to. And so we're like basically a series of events, conversations happen. And it was like, this is the time to do it. We've got a year left on this visa. The next visa is sort of a little bit of a question mark. Like in the past, it's just been like you basically just renew it. It's not really a question. Now we're going to go through a process that's a little bit more lengthy and a little bit more questionable as to whether or not we'll be able to stay. I think we will. But anyway, so we're like, let's do it. We got 6-7 months left. So we're now traveling around. We got Airbnbs scattered throughout Europe that we're going to stay in for a month at a time. I've also got my company retreat with coming up right around the corner, or at the week this is airing, maybe. And what else? There was one other thing out there on the horizon. We've got the camper van. So we're like, we've got some weeks in between that are get through. So we're traveling around with the camper van and living out of that.
The life, dude. So what's the secret to camper vanning? I feel like that's a whole like another world,
man.
Just a top tip. Like I gave a top tip for remote work. You got to give a top tip for camper life.
The secret is to not over glamorize it. Like it is what it is. You're living out of a back of a car, like a big car, basically. So don't over glamorize. Like for me, a couple weeks is like max amount of time I want to spend in there. There are people that can live out of them. We do not. I often get people like messaging me being like, yeah, man, how do you live in a van and do your job? I'm like, I don't. I travel for, a weekend, a week, 2-3 weeks. Last year year we did 10 weeks, which was really, I think it was 8 or 10 or something like that. And it was like plenty, like
bite-sized road trips.
Yeah, bite-sized road trips. And also if you're doing it as a couple, it's a totally different thing. Like what does your morning routine look like? You have to do everything pretty much at the same time, because when one of you doing something, pretty much you need both of you to be doing it at the same time. So, but yeah, man, I mean, it's awesome because you get to get off the beaten track and see beautiful places and explore little towns and stuff that you wouldn't see otherwise, if you were traveling by train or whatever. So I absolutely love it, man.
That's great, dude. I'm too much of a princess to ever travel like that, but I give all my respect to you for doing it.
Well, I mean, re-emphasize. I got to re-emphasize. I got an Airbnb rented here for 5 weeks, and then I'll travel for 1 week, and then I'll be in Airbnb again for 2 months, and so like that's the cadence, and like little trips from there. I'm a little bit of a princess these days as well.
Yeah, just good to have a bed, man. Like a nice bed, running water, a bathroom. Like a real bathroom. I don't know. I'm with that too. And I got the Oura ring for sleep, so I've been tracking all that.
Does that help a lot?
It helps as much as you want it to. So I've been using it to gather quantitative data, but also like looking at it qualitatively. Like, what are the things that I did today that led to this poor sleep score? Because it's gonna tell you so much, but you have to kind of make inferences of what happened based on whatever. But I find that eating late in the day, eating caffeine late, like going to bed late, like literally getting into the bed later. The 3 things that are like really, really important for me to watch out for.
I cut out caffeine afternoon. No more. Change the game big time for me. No more afternoon coffee. And once you get rid of that, you don't crave it. You just got to get through those initial few weeks or whatever. But yeah, that's become more and more important, man. as we get up there, that's how you keep the engines running.
For sure, dude. I actually got rid of coffee completely. I drink matcha.
Just living on ayahuasca and matcha.
Ayahuasca and matcha, and mud water. You ever heard of mud water? Like a chai tea. Fucking amazing.
Oh. You're a wealth of knowledge on all things. That's your next book.
I've got a couple in the hopper, but judging by how much this took out of me, not going to happen for a number.
Man, well, I'm excited to get this one out there. I'm hoping it does as well as I expect it will. And congrats again on all that you've accomplished, the book, and we look forward to helping promote it here. Everybody, don't forget there's a giveaway of the book, so go to the show notes to learn more. We explained it a little bit more earlier, but like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And yeah, let's get a copy of the book in your hands.
You're my guy, Chase. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. And all of you listen out there, love you as well.
Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Safe travels.
Woo!
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the 2 following links. aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.